What's up, guys? This is Listen Louder here, and I'm doing my impressions video of Dishonored. Basically, what I'm going to do is just kind of give my general thoughts on the game, what I thought some of the strengths and weaknesses were, and hopefully I won't ramble on eternally. Not the most coherent thinker in the world, so bear with me a little bit. But I mean, overall, I will say I like Dishonored. I thought it was a very good game, very well put together. I thought it was definitely worth all the hype that was thrown into it. I will say, I did think that it was a little brief. I don't know. Felt like I think I beat the game in maybe 8-9 hours, and the replayability isn't quite there enough to warrant that being it. I mean, I feel like that does certainly beg you to play it again, but I personally didn't feel the need to play it again. I did go back through and start a second playthrough, trying to do a no-kill or whatever, low chaos playthrough, whatever you want to call it, and I felt like that, essentially just felt like the same game. I mean, sure, I knew a few things around that, or knew a few things this time around that I didn't know the first time, and that made it a little bit easier, but I mean, honestly, it just felt like playing the same game through again, and the story didn't really feel all that different. I didn't finish it, so I didn't get to see the ending, but I have watched the quote-unquote good ending on YouTube, so I do know how the game ends that way. But yeah, so just getting to some specifics, I'm going to start with the cons, just because I feel like it's much easier to pick out what you don't like about a game than what you like. So yeah, the first thing that kind of stood out to me, and I mentioned this in one of my videos, was the fact that your character never speaks. Like, they kind of have little dialogue sequences that are just, usually one or two lines of, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? And it's essentially just kind of their way of decision making. But that did just kind of bug me how they don't really give you a name or a face. Well, they do give you a name and a face, but they don't give you a voice. They kind of mostly associate you with the mask. I think there's like one scene where they show Corvo's face and a little cutscene artwork, but doesn't honestly feel like I know who my character is or know who I'm playing. And I think they want you to be that character and kind of put yourself in their shoes, which for me has never really worked. I don't think that's a very good way of trying to get you involved in a storyline. I think it's much better to get you behind a character that they establish, because they're professional writers, and let's be honest, they're paid to make good story and paid to get you involved in this. And I feel like me being begged to take on the role of this character and go around using magic to assassinate people, that's not something I can relate to very well. I mean, one comparison I'm going to come back to a lot during this video is just the Mass Effect comparison, because for me that's kind of the archetypal, if I can get English down. That's kind of the archetypal game type when it comes to this sort of RPG game. It's a very combat-focused RPG, so I feel like Dishonored relates in a lot of ways, just mostly because it has a dialogue system and a morality system, and then a lot of the kind of storyline impacted by your decisions is a very common theme in both. But yeah, like one thing, like I said earlier, I think like Shepard as a character, I was really, really able to get behind, and I felt like I got very, very involved in that. Like, I remember playing through Mass Effect 3, it was just like, oh, what's going to happen to Shepard at the end? Is he going to die or whatever? It felt like I was really involved, whereas this I was just kind of like, okay, what do I have to do next to unlock the story? And just kind of going off the morality system a little bit, one thing that really bugged me was there was no motivation to choose the option to let people live. Kind of the way they set it up is, you're returning from somewhere, you come back and spend some time interacting with this little girl and her mother, who are supposedly like your closest friends in the world, and you do anything to protect them, and then some guy comes along and kills them, and then your next objective is to go off and kill them, but we don't really want you to, because that would be immoral, and we want you to be not a monster. And so it's kind of difficult to say don't kill people, because I've honestly felt like that was what I was supposed to be doing. And so, like, I mean, I'd seen a little bit of, like, oh, it's better if you kill as few people as possible. And first of all, that's just insanely hard to do. And then, second of all, like, the one that stood out to me at the very end, ironically, like the one main character who I let live, the Lord Regent. It's, of course, like the bad guy who's behind all this, who was behind the murder of the Empress, kidnapping of this Emily, the little girl who you're like a father to, tortured you, tried to get you to confess to something you didn't do, and then was planning to execute you, and you're supposed to let him live, which I did mostly because I wanted to see what would happen. But yeah, I honestly felt like letting him live was kind of a bit of a cop-out, and yeah, like, kind of the one person that I felt served as the moral compass in this game was Samuel, and I think they did a great job of him. And, like, honestly, my whole reason for, like, not wanting to kill people was just so Samuel would stop looking at me like a father scolding a child, and it just felt really, really frustrating at the end when it's just like, yeah, Corvo, this is the last you're ever going to see of me. You're kind of a monster. And I'm like, you know what? Sorry, these people, they did bad stuff to me, so I kind of want to kill them for that. But, yeah, so that was kind of my big take with the morality system. I feel like if you're going to have a good and a bad option, there needs to be a motivation for choosing each. And for me personally, it felt like this was more about how you wanted to play the game. If you wanted it to be a stealth game, you would choose the good option. If you wanted it to be a combat-focused game, it would be the bad option. And that's not really how I would set up a morality system. That's just kind of a personal playstyle type thing that you can work in somewhere else. Yeah, kind of moving on, I thought the upgrade system was kind of boring. Like, they kind of set up a Piero's shop, which initially I thought was going to be really cool. Like, I thought it was going to be like, come back and you could unlock, you know, armor upgrades, weapon upgrades, new weapons you could use and stuff like that. But really, they just kind of gave you everything at the start. I'm trying to remember which games have done this in the past, but there's like some games where it's like you go off and it's like at the start of the game you can buy stuff from stores, but it's very like basic stuff, very limited stuff, and then as you come back you get more and more advanced stuff that you can buy from them. Whereas with this game it was mostly just like, you know, show up and here's some stuff you can buy, and you can buy this throughout the game. I felt like a lot of the upgrades were pretty worthless. Like, I think I got the zoom optics on my mask first, which I used like maybe once throughout the whole playthrough. I guess if you're doing a stealth playthrough, that could help you a little bit, but since I ended up killing people mostly, I didn't really need that. I think there was like boot upgrades you could buy to make your footsteps less audible, which seemed really pointless, because if you're doing a stealth playthrough, and you would obviously want that, but you're going to be crouched the majority of the time, so it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to spot you if you're doing that. So I don't really think that was a good upgrade. I mean, some of the combat upgrades are pretty useful, like I guess the crossbow one could be good, but honestly the, I don't know, Piero's shop felt very useless unless it was just like restocking on stuff. And then just the other upgrade system, the using the runes and the bone charms, that really annoyed me. One thing I'm not a fan of is like hidden collectibles in the game. Like, I've played through all the Assassin's Creed games, and I don't think I've ever purposely gone through to try and collect all the eagle's feathers or animus fragments, whatever. They're little collectibles they've had scattered throughout the various cities. One thing I thought Assassin's Creed did very well in regards to that was not making that a part of the game. It was just something you could do if you were that kind of person who really liked to go exploring and find these collectibles in really weird and crazy places. And I'm not one of those people. I'll sit back and look at the world and be like, oh yeah, that's cool, but I'm not going to go explore the tip-top of every single tower in a city. So kind of having this, oh yeah, you should get all these collectibles because it's going to make you better and more powerful and you can do cool stuff with them, that really annoyed me. And what I imagine annoyed a lot of the people who do like collectibles is the fact that they give you an item that lets you find all the collectibles. You can see them from as far off as they are, and then you can just go get them. So it was really, really easy to find them. It's like, even for me, who's like not used to doing this sort of thing at all, it was just like find them, and if they were close enough, I would just go get them. It wasn't like you had to go look for them. And it's like, I could see if they put the heart in, like, Piero's shop, for example, and said, hey, yeah, this is something you can buy if, you want to pursue these collectibles, but there's, like, one or two you can't find, or if, like, you really want to use this upgrade system, you can buy this item, and then it'll allow you to see all these things. Which, I thought that would have been a lot better, because then, the people who want to find the collectibles, they can go find them and explore and do all they want. But the people who, just want to get them to get the achievement or get the, I don't know, get the upgrades or whatever, then they can use that and do it fairly quickly. So yeah, that was kind of my take on that. Kind of the next step is I thought the combat was a little easy. There were a lot of times I died, but on on one of my other playthroughs, I did I just essentially tried to build a combat-focused character, and it got stupid easy, stupid quick. Like, pretty much you just get the adrenaline, you get the vitality, you get stop time, and suddenly nothing can touch you. You just run around and kill all the things, and you just stop time, run up behind some people, stab them. Then when that wears off, you have the adrenaline, so you can kill 2 more people, and if somehow you aggroed enough people that there's more than, the 6 or 7 you can take care of in that time slot, you have the vitality that'll keep you alive, and of course you have your pistol and all other sorts of things you can do. So it felt like it was a really, really easy combat system, and I felt like it worked very well. I thought the combat system was very well-rounded and that you could do a lot with it, but it honestly just felt super, super easy, and as you saw, I'm not very good at that style of combat, but I was able to breeze through it pretty easily. And then kind of my last big critique was the hub system. This game kind of used a hub-based questing system, which, if you don't really know what that is, instead of having you go, like, follow a linear series of objectives, like you go here, kill this guy, go here, kill this guy, go here, kill this guy, you kind of return to a place after every mission, and that's where you go out from. So, games that have done that in the past have done that very well. Once again, going back to Mass Effect, kind of the Normandy as your hub, where you go out from there and do all your missions. I thought that went very well, but this place did not feel nearly that good. Like the Hound Pits, being as awkward of a name as that is, like, it honestly felt like someplace I had to go to check off on a checklist. It didn't feel like coming back to anything. Like, I remember getting back on the Normandy. It was like, oh, yes, now I'm back at the Normandy. I can relax a little bit, fool around, do whatever. There was a lot you could do on the Normandy in Mass Effect. You could, you had your own personal quarters, or you could just go up, customize your armor. You can go talk to people, do stuff. Whereas this place, you had your own, like, room, sure, but it felt like you were just visiting somewhere. And there was no sense of, like, homeness there. I thought it would have been much better if you, like, initially came back there and just moved from place to place, and they invoke some kind of messenger system where people would just, say, oh, come meet us here at this bar near the castle where you just killed this guy. So I felt like that would have flowed a lot better, or if they just would have made the Hound Pits seem like a much more safe haven area, as opposed to just kind of this area where it felt like you were hanging out, where people would not try and kill you if you were walking around. So I felt like that didn't work very well. But, yeah, so now on to things I really liked about the game. Obviously, the first thing that stood out to me was just the art style and the way the game was designed. I really, really got into the kind of world they created, and just learning about Dunwall and kind of how it got into the state it's in, and kind of a little bit about it from the various books and stuff you picked up. I really, really enjoyed that, and I thought the world looked very cool. I thought that art style was really nice. I really liked the steampunk motif they used in there a lot. I thought the kind of big open worlds, especially as you were riding around on, like, the boat or whatever with Samuel as you approached the joint, I thought that whole panorama was incredibly cool. And, I mean, you could see me looking around in a lot of the videos, just kind of taking it in. If there was one thing that bugged me about the art style, it was that every single character looked like a bad political drawing, or a bad political cartoon. And I'm stealing that line from Yahtzee's Zero Punctuation, so shout out there. I love you. But like it really really was kind of weird looking at people. Their hands were huge, heads were, I don't know, made everyone look about 30 years older than they actually were, is how I felt looking at everybody. Like even Emily, I thought looked a lot older than I think she was supposed to be between like, I don't know, 10 and 12 in this game, but she looked like she was maybe about 14. And so, I don't know. That was my one little critique, but overall I thought the whole like world was very well designed. I liked all the costumes, liked all the buildings, kind of the whole machinery centric society they had there. I thought that was very well done. And I also thought that they made it very easy to play the game how you wanted to play it. I mean, I've already touched on the fact that, the stealth was a lot more difficult than just going around killing people, but I mean, I felt like they gave you the tools to do both options very, very well. There were certain upgrades that were very much centered on stealth, some that were very much centered on combat, and I thought that they gave you the tools to do what you wanted to do, and that that you could play the game how you wanted to play it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, there was definitely a difficulty jump, but I honestly felt like it was a very well-rounded combat system. There was never any like point in the game where I was just like, oh man, I wish I had an ability that could do this, because generally, like, anything I had, or any situation I encountered, I had some tool that I could solve it with. And then, yeah, kind of going along with that, I thought the combat system was very well done. I thought that they gave you a lot of good options. I don't know, the pistol versus crossbow. I like the adrenaline mastery, or not mastery, sorry, League of Legends there. But whatever the adrenaline talent, for lack of a better word, that you could get from the runes upgrade, I thought that went very well with the if you're faced with 5 or 6 people, manage to kill 2 or 3 of them, and you can kind of get out of that situation. I like the block system, as poor as I was at using that. I thought that was a good way of taking care of people one-on-one. I thought the incorporation of magic into the combat worked really well, especially if you could like stop time, which just side note, that was the most OP thing ever. Like, I only got the first upgrade in my playthrough, but that was like the first tier 2 upgrade I got in my second playthrough, just because it was so stupid what you could do with like 5 seconds of stop time, and I thought that made it very, very easy. But it also made it a lot of fun because you could do some cool things with it. I saw this one video of a guy just kind of running around, and he managed to take out like 3 or 4 guys on foot and 1 tall boy within, like, I don't know, 5 or 8 seconds. And he did it in an awesome way that looked really cool. And so I thought they gave you the tools to do some really cool plays and I don't know, interesting ways of solving problems in this game. Although the magic controls were a little bit awkward, it was annoying having to switch between magic powers every time you wanted to use something differently. I thought it would have been nice if you could have just bound one to the X or Y. By the way, I used a controller to play through it. I didn't use the keyboard control, so I don't know if there's an option to do it on that, but I feel like it would have been a lot more useful if you could have used some binding techniques, and like Blink, for example, would have been a great one to just have bound to something, or stop, or I don't know about Blink, just because that one you have to aim it, but I don't know, stop time, or maybe even I don't know, Devour or Whirlwind would have been good to have bound to a key, just as like a kind of like oh crap button. When stuff goes wrong, you can just kind of hit that real quick instead of having to pause, select, unpause, trigger. It just got really tedious during combat, and I feel like it could have flowed a lot better if they would have used that. But yeah, I mean, overall impressions, I like the game a lot. I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10 if I had to rate it. It's one of those games that is definitely worth picking up and playing through. I honestly do not think it's worth playing through 2 or 3 times. I mean, if you're one of those people who likes to know all possible outcomes of a game, then definitely play through it a second time, trying to do the no-kill or the combat-based one, whichever one you choose. And I mean, I think the second ending is significantly different from the first one enough to warrant a second playthrough, but the individual gameplay itself does not feel all that different in my opinion. It's only kind of the ending, which, I mean, you you heard me say earlier, I just looked it up on YouTube because I was too lazy to play another 8 or 9 hours a game to get to an ending that was already up there. So I feel like it's definitely a good game to play through once. It's fun to play. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it if you, like, I don't know, think through how to solve a situation or just come up with some really cool way to kill everybody in 2 seconds. I mean, it's got a lot of potential for it's got a lot of fun factor while you're playing through it, but I don't feel like it's a game that you can play over and over again and feel rewarded for doing that. Yeah, so I mean, I would definitely buy it if I were you. I do not regret spending $60 on it, and I think it's I think it's a great game, and that will probably do it for my impressions video. Yeah, I'm very open to tips and pointers. I've never done anything like this before, but thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed the playthrough, and we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.